Hey, everybody. Welcome to Low 5 Gaming. My name is Luke, and this is my brother Alex.
Yo, what up, what
This is where you
up?
say some words. There we go. And this is our podcast on Loop Hero. Welcome.
Yes, sir.
Come on in.
Episode 23. Welcome back. Excited
the
to
Michael,
talk
the
about
Michael
a little...
Jordan of our podcasts. Let's go.
No, I was thinking about that too when I wrote it down. I was like, 23, Michael Jordan. I got NBA in the mind, though. We're in the midst of playoffs right now.
Overrated, am I right?
The playoffs? Or are you talking about
No,
LeBron?
Michael Jordan.
Oh, get out.
As a certified late 90s baby, like I was born early 90s, so like I was, still basically learning how to poop when Jordan was doing all the cool stuff. Overrated. Whatever. I don't care. I've seen his propaganda.
Are you
film,
joking me?
The Last Dance. He
Get
must have
outta
flown.
here.
They must have flown to North Korea to learn under Kim Jong-un as to how to make a proper propaganda film before they made The Last Dance. But anyway, he was average. He was pretty good.
Get out of here. Are you? I can't even tell if you're playing or not. Jordan's the best.
I love to piss off people whose formative years were the 90s. Like,
whatever, bro. It's just
Biggie and Tupac mid rappers, and Michael Jordan was decent at basketball. Anyway, moving forward.
Getting me ornery at the start.
But yeah, we did Loop Hero, and it's a fun time. Do you want to do the long thing? And I'll promise to not interrupt you this time around with stupid comments. We get cut for sure.
To tell people about the story, huh?
Hell yeah, dude, because this will definitely be the first time I've heard it as well. So
yeah, there's not much going around with the story. I mean, it definitely throws you into some dialogue when you first start this game. Devolver Digital's got a TLDR on their Loop Hero official website, which reads, "The Lich has thrown the world into a timeless loop and plunged its inhabitants into a never-ending chaos. Wield an expanding deck of mystical cards to place enemies, buildings, and terrain along each unique expedition loop for the brave hero."
So yes, there's a story. I'm pretty sure I read some of the things. I'm like, gotta save the world, got it, video game stuff. And it definitely feels like they definitely cared about the story, and people probably like it, but it's not really that type of game for me. I don't know, do you agree, or were you really into the lore, my guy?
No, it doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter at all. At first, I thought maybe it does because, like I said, they do like kick you off with a little bit of a story. Like they set the scene for you, but pretty immediately you find out that doesn't. You just like are just going to jam to some like crunchy tunes and do the loop, my man.
When you run into new enemies, they basically have this thing of like, yeah, well, this is the way it's got to be, man. And then you fight. So once again, very video gamey. And then when you unlock new areas of your town, which we'll get into in a second, they also give you some bit of lore where you're just like, cool. So now I get to do this on my next run. And they're like, and then I move on. The game self-describes itself as an endless RPG. So it's a roguelite.
Right.
You have
I think it's a roguelike.
Man,
or is it a roguelike? Yeah,
we're not
I think we have to do it in every show.
Every show we relearn what the difference is, so it doesn't matter. You carry and you progress and go further and further. It's definitely a strategy game. I think it's technically a deck building game. Yeah,
I would say so. Yep.
It feels to
gathering those cards.
It feels to me, and this is a silly difference, but it feels to me more like a tile than a card. Ooh. It feels like you're playing a little bit of an interactive board game, right? And you're laying down tiles and not playing cards, but that's who cares, right?
Yeah, you start to get under the layers of this game, though. Those cards come into play pre-run, right? So you do get these cards, and they matter. But you're right in the sense that during the actual gameplay of it, they feel more like tiles, or you're laying down the cards that become like an interactive tile almost.
Well, it's like it matters where you lay them on the board, so it feels like you're laying a tile on the board. But essentially, there is a randomly generated loop, and the initial gameplay loop is. I love how you have all these like super sick crafted sprites, or so to speak, of like the different people and characters in the game. But then when your hero's going around the loop, you're just this little white block thing going like swinging its arms up and down.
Yeah.
But anyway,
crunchy graphics for sure, man.
Yeah,
it's like early SNES era.
There we go. And you go in this loop, and then you fight some enemies, and then you get some cards or tiles, whatever you want to say it. The game would say cards. I would say tiles from the encounter. And they are either weapons and armor for your character that you're constantly equipping or unequipping, or it's like these different cards or tiles that you play on the map. And then from those, it's like It's like things that have like benefits, like it boosts your HP or it declines the HP of your enemy, or it's like different things where you actually lay down in almost like the opposite of tower defense. Instead of laying down the defenses coming around as enemies keep pouring in, it's like you go around the loop and you actually place where your enemies are going to be. So it's kind of a interesting difference, right? You're setting up your own challenge and you're trying to balance it between being difficult enough to progress but not too difficult where you die too quickly. So that's actually a pretty interesting balance that they strike there, and I think they do that pretty well. As you lay more cards down on the map, you have this progression bar, and when that bar finally fills, you face off against a boss.
Mhm.
And then Alex and I just got our ass whooped by said boss.
Oh man, so many times. I was getting worried, man. I always get worried when I'm really bad at these games. I'm like, how can I even host a podcast about video games when I can't even play?
Dude, I think it's actually a pretty common circumstance where people, I remember some other pods that talked about this game and they're like, I think they talked about the same type of rut that the game got us into, but we'll get that down the line.
Yeah.
But it's kind of funny how like, I'm like, no, it's going to be a different experience for me. And then I was like, man, they got me. They were right. But anyway, so that's if you beat the boss, or if you there's three options actually. You beat the boss, you lose to the boss, or you leave right before the boss and you can carry back all your loot to the villages, which sets up our second loop of gameplay. You like how I'm using loops a lot, dude? This is like my 23rd podcast.
You're a loop hero, my man.
I'm a loop hero. This is my 23rd podcast. I'm the LeBron James in Cleveland of podcasting, because he's the greatest number 23 of all time. Anyway. But anyway, the second loop is, it's like this, oh man, I was gonna say community building, but that's some teacher speak there. It's like village building, base building. There we go. It's some base building.
Yes, sir.
And you're like resettling this town.
I haven't entirely figured that part out yet either, dude. Like
we're gonna get there in the grievances, my guy.
Because you're placing your cards or your tiles. I feel like that's even more like tiles because they're not actual cards. Yeah. You're like placing these. You grow. You're like you said, you're base building, and there's a tree there too, right? Where you can you bring back enough resources to build out I don't know, like a blacksmith and like a farm and like other things, right?
Correct. And that plays into your loop.
Right. But like the placement of those
from your loop to those is they try their darndest to like explain to me what I should do, but not really actually at all. No, man, they're just like, and then you can do these things, and I'm like, wait, what? And then like I felt like the interface was kind of whack, and I have never had any idea what I'm doing with it. And then there's like some items you can equip or craft or disassemble, and I'm like, this is getting a lot. And then they're like, you've unlocked the encyclopedia. And I'm like, you should not have to unlock basic knowledge on how the game is played. But I digress. So that's the game. That's what we be playing.
They're gatekeeping the knowledge of the game from us.
So that's the game. This is the loop hero. So now
dude,
the audience
is an addicting loop though, man. Like
it is, you
just got to keep going for it.
But now that we've looped in the audience and got them in the loop as to what we're doing here.
Gross.
I know. So why this game was chosen, why it's the pod, does Luke regret making it the game? No, but it wasn't as fun as the first 5 hours, I tell you what. The game's been talked about. It was a heralded game that came out last year. It is very unique. It is very cool. I have become recently a very strong convert to not just roguelites. And that genre, I think, is like probably the coolest growth in all of video games in the last handful of years. If we want to get into some meta conversations, like after Redfall release, there's the crashing of AAA games, and does Xbox have it? Do they have any exclusives? What's the deal?
Dude, I can't handle the discourse.
I know, we can maybe get into that later. But anyway, the games making the most interesting progressions in the space are like roguelites, and I really like deck building ones like Slay the Spire and things. So like,
yeah, I didn't used to be a deck builder, but
especially when I first started playing, I was like, I found my deck building game. Mm-hmm. Especially with like Inscription, I was like, I'm so here for it. So that's why the game was played, and then it was dropped on Game Pass. Mm-hmm. So you have this unique art style, some really cool music, great word of mouth and buzz on the game, and it's coming from a publisher that we really admire. Kind of the gold standard in this space, yes, sir. Mm-hmm. I don't recall the developer of the actual game. Would that be Four Quarters?
Yes,
it is. Got that at the top there, so they would be the ones actually making the game. Yeah. And then one last time, it dropped on Game Pass, and like, they're not our unsanctioned sponsor, but like Game Pass, good time. All right.
Best
So
best deal in gaming, bro.
still in gaming, dude. So that's
Epic
how
put it
it.
out there. That's how I got into it the first time around. Before you made a game
Oh,
for the pod,
sure.
I
I might
dabbled a
have
little
picked it
bit.
up on Epic actually once upon
Yeah,
a
so
time, but
Epic always does their free game of the week, and during the holiday season, they drop like one a day. This is one of their bigger ones about a year and a half ago, I would say, which I was stoked to pick up, and then happy that it's on Game Pass. So I actually started on for this playthrough. I played on Game Pass, and I abandoned my Epic my Epic save file and started over,
had you had
and it
any
was nice.
meaningful progression?
Not really. I was only like had probably put maybe 2 hours into it and like was just starting to learn the game. So I had to redo that, but it wasn't that big of a deal because this game is just the same loop basically, only more intricate each time.
Sure. You want to talk for a second about just the differences between playing it on the PC and playing it on the box? Because all I know is playing on the box, and it feels pretty smooth. I can see it
Yeah,
being
man.
really dope with a 2 monitor setup, but
Oh,
I mean that for not the playability of the game, but passively playing the game while I watched or did something else.
sure, okay. Yeah, it's an interesting game like that, man. I know that you've mentioned a couple times that it's a perfect, and it is like the perfect game for listening to a podcast to or doing some multitasking. But like, I was like the majority of the time I played this game, I was honed in on it. Like, it's got some crunchy music that I enjoyed, and it pulls you right in. Nonetheless, you asked the difference between PC and Xbox. So when I was playing Epic, that was fully PC, and the point and click with the mouse and everything. And I think you hit spacebar to maybe pause it or something like that. But it was really smooth, man. I couldn't imagine playing this game with a controller. Yet, the majority of the time I was playing with the Xbox controller via Game Pass this time around, and it's so smooth, man. They like really figured out that controller scheme to make it work.
Yeah, when you said that you could never imagine playing it on PC, I actually thought it would sound kind of tedious in the sense where I'd be like locating things where I got pretty quick with the controller, so I can only imagine. So the game, it actually feels like grown up tower defense.
Yeah,
And
I did like I liked your when a little minute or two ago when you compared it to like the anti-tower defense, like the opposite
yeah.
of like because you're setting up the bad guys instead of setting up your defense.
Yeah, well, it's interesting because it's like an anti-tower defense. It's almost like if you're sending waves at something, but instead just like placing your enemies where you're going to run into them. And there's different like cards or tiles that are like I don't know, just like buildings or what would you
Well, you get your
call them?
towns, and then like certain cards. It kind of depends. You have different ones. You have cards that are straight up. They're not any enemy specific, but they have to do. It's either a town, a swamp, a graveyard. What
Well,
else do they
those
got?
all set up different enemies, and sometimes like if you go
Right.
through ruins, you get different artifacts. But I'm talking about like the tiles that are neutral and they like have a
Hmm.
status effect. So, for example, there's like those lightning
Oh, like the
towers that like
lighthouses.
yes. So like there's different things that affect. So one thing
Yeah,
I would
lighthouses
always
make you go
do.
quicker traverse quicker through an area or whatever.
Yeah, I
And then
think it
you've
might
also got
actually
those.
make your enemies faster too. So I was always like, is
Oh,
that
okay.
even a benefit? But I could be
Yeah.
wrong. Once again, this game isn't always straightforward with its
Right.
information. One thing I would always do though is you unlock what's called the blood grove. So I'd set
Hmm.
up a grove and I'd make in it, then you would attach the blood grove to it, which is a card. And then if your enemy got to like 20 or 15% of its health, it would finish them off for you.
Right.
So
That's a nice one.
I would always strategically place my like tougher enemies in that area, which just got to be hell later on. There's a balance. It's a well balanced game. That's definitely a quality that's admirable. But it is the ultimate podcast game. It does not take. It is very complex, and you could get better than I am and think a whole lot about it, or you could mindlessly enter the loop and just take the highest color coded armor and weapon sets because that's what I would do. I
Yeah,
rarely
sometimes I would
read.
just look at the numbers and stop reading the stats, but it pays off to read the stats
It
typically.
it does, but it's color coded like a lot of games do with like the
Mm-hmm.
rarity of the loot. So I'll take like
Yes,
a lower overall. Like if it's a 5 orange, I would take that more than a 7 blue. You know what I mean?
I see what you're saying. Yeah.
That's really easy once you know what you're doing to just kind of mindlessly go about it. So listening to pods really nice. I also call it a rotation game because
Hmm.
Game Pass shout out, you just do a few loops. It takes a decent amount of time. Then you take a few games in MLB The Show, and then you just start scrimming, and then you just get burnt out from scrimming, and you do some loops. It's a
Yeah, like
nice
some
game.
other solid like some other solid roguelikes, dude. Like Enter the Gungeon, Hades, all those games where you one loop maybe took maybe 5, 10, 15 minutes at the start, and all of a sudden you're putting in 45 minutes in
Yeah.
each loop. That's kind of like Loop Hero is the same way, man. Like you all of a
Yeah.
sudden, all of a sudden 45 minutes have passed. You're like, oh dang. But you always feel pretty good and strong at the end of that run too. You started to mention some of the other tiles the types of tiles you can play on your map. And I think it's another interesting layer of this game that you can only do, well, you can do between 7 and 13 of them, right? And you get to go in
Yeah.
that same area where you're doing the base building. You can flip over to look at, or I think it's actually when you go to start your run, you're planning your run, you can go and choose which of these enemy like cards or tiles you're placing, and you have to do a mix of between 7 and 13, which is another like interesting flavorful way of getting you to think about what your run's going to look like, because you're kind of like, I mean, you're cooking, man. You're like, you decide what you're throwing in the kitchen, and then you get to watch what happens.
Yeah, it's a playful way to describe it for sure. I know that I dropped on the Discord. I'm like, yeah, I as I continued to do some loops, I was like, turns out I should pay a little bit more attention to what cards I'm throwing in my deck, because I didn't have helpful things coming up when I defeated
Right.
enemies, and it was just more crap. And I'm like, I don't need this many enemies. And then
Yeah, what is it? Battlefields will drop treasure chests or whatever every couple loops or something like that, which is nice.
yeah, those are cool, but if enemies spawn in there and then you fight the enemy in that territory, it turns into a ghost, so you got to fight it twice. That's an interesting little thing.
Yeah, once you get a little later in the game too, I forget it's the ruins when you start playing those ruin tiles, and it's funny because you're placing these cards that are like, it's weird because you start to build this excitement for like a card that's, you're placing enemies, so you don't actually want to run it because it's like a pain in the ass to fight them, and you're not doing anything; it just fights by itself. It's like an auto
Right.
thing. But it's funny because you like start to, like you're saying, and you get strategic about it, right? So you're placing this stuff, and you're like, or at least I was like, you get kind of excited, like, oh, if I put the ruins here, like, maybe it'll make it so I can. And then I started getting kind of aesthetic about it too on my map, where I'm building stuff out, and
Sure.
like I'm getting symmetrical and trying to make things look cool. But then I was like, shit, man, maybe I shouldn't be doing that because I've got 4 ruins stacked up right in a row,
Right.
and the
Right.
ruins like spawn these snakes, and the snakes have an ability where if they're next to another ruin tile, they'll also attack you with the other fuckers that you're trying to fight, dude. And you're like, which is like cool when you beat them because you feel beastie and shit. And it's like,
I never
makes
knew
your
that's what
HP
that
go up.
was. I was like, what's going
Yeah.
on with this?
I just figured it out after repetition. I was like, okay, I'm pretty sure
Okay.
this is why this is happening.
That's
But it's
funny.
like that kind of stuff, just by playing with the game, you start to uncover some of this, cool stuff. You start to see it. But it's interesting because it's cool because it's like difficult and a new layer, but then it also that also means that it makes it harder for you, It's like a
Yeah.
weird balance.
Yeah, I don't. I should have been smarter the whole time. And then you lay the mountains and the groves, or not the groves,
Yeah.
but the meadows and the desert tiles and those things off to the side. The first time I played, I didn't know that they were just like lay them anywhere, and they have basically the
Right.
same effects other than they stack. So I was like putting all my mountains in the middle, and that did not lead out well.
You notice if you stack all, well, you can
6
do,
mountains, you
yeah,
get,
or
or is
rocks,
it
mountains
9?
and rocks together. It's nine,
Yeah,
nine in
9,
total.
yeah. And you get the mega mountain. Yeah, I tried to like set that
Yeah,
up multiple times, and it turns out you
it
can
looks so
just do it
cool.
once.
That's what
It
I'm saying.
does.
Like
It's
as
like
you
one of
start
my
to
favorite things
rebuild
to
your
do.
town,
Yeah.
yeah, as you start to rebuild your, every time you go out on the same loop, you're like rebuilding the structures in like this like world or whatever. And yeah, it's fun, man. And when you place like a meadow next to a rock, it'll make it so flowers grow on the meadow as opposed to a meadow next to a meadow.
A
So it's like the
bloom.
playful, yeah, it's like a playful, like it's just, you just like, I don't know, dude, it's like a weird thing that's just like a fun part of this game.
That's another reason I say they're tiles
More
instead of
resources too.
cards. Yeah, that's another reason I say tiles instead of cards, because it reminds me of games like Carcassonne or whatever, where like they have
Yeah.
like bonus buffs and whatever. So I digress. The game's really cool. It's got that sick art that we're talking about, where
Mhm.
they show. I joked earlier about how stupid your dude is when he looks like he's just this tiny little thing going up
Yeah,
around
it's
the
just a
loop.
little white sprite that like shakes
Yeah.
around like a skeleton.
Everything else looks super rad. The still shots or whatever, like when they're talking to each other. I don't know how to quite describe that, but like all the art around it looks really cool. The music's a ton of fun.
Yeah, I think they have a name for it now. I'm not even gonna pretend to remember what it is, but it's essentially, it's that 16-bit era, but they brought, but it's being made today. So it's like it's like an homage to that like Super Nintendo era of games where we had those graphics and the same overlays and stuff like that, where your chat boxes and stuff. But it's a little bit polished, so it's not just like that. It's like polished for the, because it's a fucking good
Yeah.
game.
And you can have like a picture, right? So it's just
Hmm.
like a hand painted or hand drawn picture there that's there for a second, but it's not animated necessarily. That looks really cool. And I'll just use my word that means nothing, but everything. It's just so crunchy. It's just such a
Right.
crunchy good time. The loot is fun. That gameplay loot of getting your different equipment, like it is addicting. It's like
Yeah.
it's not an intense like a Destiny 2 or or an Assassin's Creed. It's not like obsessive like those modern games, but like it's nice. It's got a nice feedback loop to it.
Mhm.
It's layered. It's a well balanced game, and it's low impact, but it's
Is it well
relatively.
balanced though? Is it well balanced, dude? Like, I don't know, man.
Uh okay. So if we want to jump right into what kind of sucks, it's grindy as hell.
It's so
So
grindy. And that's
yeah,
just the
it takes
thing
way
is if
longer
it's
than I
meant to
thought.
be, and that's what I was trying to like figure out as I played this game because it took me a long time to feel like I was getting good at this game of doing the same loop. And it's an addicting loop and it's cool. Like we've been talking about how like cool it looks and how addicting that loop is and how intricate it is. At the same time, also not like you can be really loose with it. But like
Yeah,
I had to do it so many times before I was actually finally able to fight that first boss and have any meaningful impact, against him. And then like it took me a lot. Like it started to break open as I was able to build out my home base a little bit more. But even as I've done that, you still have to do so much resource collection and some of that placement of the tiles we're talking about with the meadows and the rocks and all that stuff. Like if you do that in certain ways, it will boost the amount of resources you get from those tiles. So you start to like game the system or you start to learn how to farm better. But even still, I'm even still like I've only beat that boss once. I can't beat the second boss. I don't remember how many bosses are in total because I haven't seen them all. And like I put a good chunk of time in this game, bro. And like that's the thing. I haven't bounced off it. I like this game, but I'm like, I think this game is making me grind. I think that's what it is. I think
yeah,
it's like you have to grind. This is a grinder game. And I think people really love that. Like a lot of people like a lot of people miss like some of that, like the old Final Fantasy VII grind. The new remakes have like changed that gameplay a lot, and I think there's a certain it's cool, but it's also super frustrating.
I find the game like addictive and compelling for 5 to 15 minutes.
Hmm.
That's why I said I like it in a rotation. I like it for a podcast because something else is capturing me. But I
Right,
found it really hard to play more than one or two loops in a day.
that's fair.
So that grind over a long period of time could be really, really cool. I can see myself getting back into it or never leaving it. But
Hmm.
like for this pod, I have done 10 to 12 hours total.
Yeah, I have to check my time, but I would say I'm at least there for sure.
I have not run into the second boss ever. I don't think I've made it that far. The first boss I lost to a handful of times, and then the one time I
Hmm.
beat him, I fucked the shit out of him. So I was like really confused, which leads me into something I forgot that is really pretty cool. Is there's different play types, so there's different
Yep.
classes. There's your
Hmm.
warrior, there's a rogue, and there's the necromancer. Is there another one I just don't know about yet?
Dude, I don't know. I didn't research it, and I've
Sure,
only locked those three.
sure. Nah, research would make this professional, and I ain't about that. No, we're just letting her rip, dog.
This is our experience, bro.
This would be a
Backlog book club.
spoiler. Be a spoiler. But yeah, I had no desire when it would just get ridiculous on me. I wasn't just like there's stuff at that base building. The base building is so obtuse and just like I have no idea what I'm supposed to be doing. And there's like resources that I'm trying to farm and I'm like, what am I how do I get this? Like I want to
Right.
get how do I
And I
like I don't even know what I need to run into to get this. Like what's going on? I don't want to look it up.
and the
It's not a
piece of
game.
that like was frustrating for me is that I started to learn how the main gameplay loop map worked and how the resources, like I was talking about a little bit earlier, like if you place certain tiles next to each other, they do certain
Yeah.
things, get you more resources. I got to throw out there too. Another fun one is when you put the vampire mansion next to to a a town or whatever it is. There's a chance that the vampire, like it depends, like either like it's a percentage thing, but sometimes sometimes the villagers like will succumb to the vampire, and other times like they have a symbiotic relationship. It's kind of fun, man. It'll like change your loop or whatever. It's just one of those little things. But that's just getting into getting into the weeds on that, and but that like brings it back to this like when you're doing the base building, those same like I wanted those same mechanics to apply. Does that make sense?
No, I have
So
no idea
like
what you're talking about.
So like, okay, so I'm like talking about like in the main game loop, how there's like you start to learn how the different tiles or cards next to each other like will benefit, and like you're able
Oh,
to like
sure.
gain the system. You know, you're able to figure out how the system works to bring in more resources. So like when I go back to, which is another grid system and the base building, and I place and I know that like placing farms next to certain things is going to like do something. I just don't know what it is. Like I do know that like, because you start to, it gives you an option of where you place your new buildings as you unlock your
Yeah.
tree.
I was
And
hoping
it's
that
like,
didn't matter. That
I
really
think it
sucks.
does though, and that's
Yeah.
the thing. I think it benefits you to like actually have good placement there, but I haven't figured out what that is yet, and I haven't looked it up. It's
Yeah.
like, you know,
No. I was hoping it didn't, other than the farm, because I know the farm is just like the more blank
but it's
tiles, the more
signposts,
farm star
because it'll
food.
show like how when you like place something, it'll show like a certain amount of green spaces or whatever, and maybe some oranges. I can't remember the exact color, but it's like when we did skylines or whatever, you know, city skylines.
Yeah.
So like certain, you know, when you place certain things next to each other, everything has an impact. And and like some of those things will often be signposted with like a different shading or whatever. And this might just me interjecting that, wanting it to happen that way. I can't confirm.
I hope it doesn't, man, because I have no idea. I just place the shit and I move on. And
And you can also blow up your whole base, and that's another thing that makes me worry about that, because it lets you delete things. I can't remember you can recollect resources from that or not, but you can like delete stuff to do replacement.
oof. Yeah, man. So like all of that is very confusing unless you're just really looking into how it's done, which I mean, good for you, I guess, if you're really into it. I just think it would be intuitive. If it was more intuitive, I think that would be cool. It's not.
Well, you're teasing it, man. I think this is a back burner game. Like keep on the back burner, simmering for like forever, ever. I think that's how this game
Yeah.
should be approached.
Yeah. I mean, I understand how people get hot and heavy in the beginning because it's like really
Mhm.
fun in the beginning and it's very unique and it's very cool. And then I understand how you get to that immediate burnout, but I can kind of see how that itch will build back up.
Oh yeah.
That being said, like I did have mild regrets of picking this game for the game of the month. Should have just went with Toad Treasure Tracker, my guy. Like, what am I doing? Should have done a real American
Someday.
inspiration. Uh, but like, I don't hate it. But like, even what's the ridiculous Bloodstained game we played at the
Dude, that game
time?
was tight. I think
I
about that
know,
game still.
I know, I do too. It's probably the game I played least for the pod for various
Mhm.
reasons, and mostly because I sucked at it. But like, I think about it more than some other ones.
Yeah.
Where this one, it was hard to really get into. I played probably the same amount due to ease as I did Inscription, but Inscription, like, even though I still have to go back, that'll stick way harder with me than this would.
Yeah. Different vibes.
Different vibes, but also like it's way
The gameplay
meatier.
itself, like that's a really good deck builder, dude. Like I don't think I've ever played a deck builder that's, well, I mean they're all different, I
The
guess,
deck builder, the story, the intrigue,
Mhm.
all of it
Right.
was just way cooler.
Heavy
So
vibes.
like, yeah, this game was really cool, and it's
Mhm.
awesome Game Pass game. And it's a
Dog.
back burner, it's a simmer, it's a crock pot. Just let it keep going over time. But it's frustrating as fuck as well.
Yeah. It can be. That can be for sure. I figured out how to get cloud gaming to work on or for Xbox's Game Pass or cloud gaming. I
Yeah.
found out how to get that to work on my Steam Deck, bro. So I've been
Oh
able to
shoot.
play Loop Hero on the Steam Deck, which is really nice.
That's gotta be nice. I can
Yes.
see it
So it
being a cool
means,
handheld game.
yes, totally. So I think it just goes back to that whole like back burner game, and like the handheld, like being able to set it down, that kind of thing is really nice. But I've always like, even on playing on the PC, playing on the Xbox, like being able to do that handheld passively is great.
Yeah, dude. So honestly, that's just kind of my thoughts on Loop Hero. It's not Death Loop, so if you got kind of far on our last pod and you're super pumped for Death Loop, and then but if you didn't stick around to hear me realize we were being fucking morons, I'm
Dude, the homie
sorry.
Troidal or whatever in the Discord, he was like,
Yeah.
he's like, boys, I'm so excited. It's like, sorry, dude.
You don't want to see this JV team play Deathloop. We would suck so hard. But yeah, it's tight. I recommend it to a very specific audience, mostly if you want to get through some old seasons of television and you want to really binge something and you've already watched that show before. Like, we're going to rewatch Futurama. I would want this on the side.
Right on.
So there we are. Any parting thoughts with the game? Anything you want to defend or maybe drag or bring back up, or is it pretty much covered?
I mean, there's more to say. I did enjoy this game a lot. I think like as a straight on recommendation, like I think it's like a very solid, like, sure.
I won't stop you.
No, I'm not going to stop you. It's tight. But I'm not going to be out on the street like spinning my Loop Hero sign. I'll tell you what.
No.
No.
I don't think I'd buy some stickers on Redbubble. All right.
But here's the deal, bro. This thing is on Game Pass. I also got it for free from Epic, and I bought it on Steam because I couldn't I thought before I figured out how to do the Xbox like cloud gaming that I would. Long story short, like it was like $3 or something. It's always on sale, and it is like you said you put at least 10 to 15 hours in there or whatever you said earlier.
Yeah.
And for that price, and get out of here. Like, that's like a solid send it. But whatever.
Yeah, I'm just not going to give it like a full throated, you got to play, bro. But if someone was like, I was thinking about Loop Hero, I'm like, dude, it's a good time. Enjoy the first 5 hours, struggle through the next 5, and then slowly play it and maybe add to it over time. I don't know.
As you're trying to outro your fucking game of the month sad story, I will say this. One banger part of it, dude, is the song or the track that starts playing right as you get to that first boss, or like when the first boss appears on your map as you're going through the loop. Like often that music track will change. I don't remember the track name, dude, but it slaps, man.
All the music goes hard as hell in this game. Like, there's a reason I wanted to play it. It looks cool as shit. And at first I was like, this was the right choice, bro. And then I was like,
No, I feel you.
But no, I mean, I had fun. It's just I've said what I need to say about the Loop Hero. I don't know. For now, man. We'll see if it ever shows up back in side questing.
And with that, let's take a little break.
And with that,
hear from our unsanctioned sponsor.
I got two of them this one.
Oh, you're going to slang two? You're going to come in with number one? Two sponsors? Unsanctioned?
2 sponsors. One of them's serious. The other one's not.
As in, like, giving us serious, like, not money at all, and the other one also not giving us any money at all to hawk their whatever this may be.
I should say I have an earnest one and I have a rant. All right.
There we go.
Some fucking housekeeping for you, Al. Our earnest one is like, moms, white.
Brought to you by moms.
Brought to you by moms.
Literally.
Dude, it's Mother's Day, By the time you're listening to this, you got a mother. Hopefully you called her. If you're married and you have a child, be nice to your wife. She's probably a good mom. I have a great wife. She's a wonderful mom. It's her first Mother's Day. I love her. And I wanted to say that real loud so she heard it and thinks I'm awesome. But yeah, dude, moms are the best. Our moms is awesome. She's a great grandma too.
Wait,
and
it's for real moms?
Yeah, it's my earnest one, moms.
All right.
It's Mother's Day. I can't just not shout out moms on the eve of Mother's Day.
How's that work with unofficially brought to you in part by moms. But also officially, technically, scientifically.
What's the cereal? That garbage cereal that's sort of good, kid tested, mom approved.
Kicks?
So that's our podcast is Kicks. But anyway, love my wife, my baby
Reagan
mama.
on the podcast.
I love my baby mama, and I love my mama, and she's a great grandma too. And I love my mother-in-law as well. I shouldn't leave out any moms. You got any mom shout-outs you want to make, dog?
Dude,
Mom loves me more.
To the good moms, the bad moms.
This is why moms. This is why I'm mom's favorite. This is why you suck.
To the hot moms.
I already shouted out my baby mama. She a hot mom. There we go.
Yes.
Got a MILF in the house. Let's go. And then my other unsanctioned sponsor is every fucking gas station that doesn't have a goddamn TV at the pump. all right,
Oh yeah.
there's just things when you get older where you're like, back in my day, and you just, you bring the kids and you put them on your lap and you go, there's this wonderful time when at a gas station you didn't have a fucking lagging screen giving you a choppy commercial at full volume for no
Dude,
good
they're always
reason.
so loud. I did
So loud.
see I did see
So
a
loud.
oh shit, what's that game that I love?
Tetris. You fucking mouth
No.
breather.
No.
Oh,
Dead Cells. Dude, it's I did see I did see a Dead Cells advertisement on one of those gas station TVs once, though. That was kind of tight.
that's obscure as fuck. All I
Dude,
ever
it really
get is
was.
like all I ever get is just a laggy ass commercial just blaring at me. It's like I'm late for work. I didn't remember I needed gas, and all of a sudden I'm just sitting there at the pump. It's cold, because maybe it's not, but sometimes it's cold, and it's just blaring some crap at me. It's like the word of the day, and I'm like, dude, I just want to pump gas. Like, can my life be quiet for 3 minutes ever?
I don't
And
think
the
I've
answer
ever
is
been
no.
influenced by one of those. I don't know why they're doing them.
Dude, and it's just like there's no period of my life that can be without advertisements now, and it's not like you can tell me it makes the gas cheaper because gas is really
No,
expensive. so,
it doesn't at all. It's just an opportunity for them to make more money.
brought to you by loving mothers and eternal angst over shitty commercials at gas stations.
Luke's like, I just wish someone would go and pump their gas for me like the old days.
No, that sounds uncomfortable, and then I gotta tip them, and I'm like, no, like I'll put my own gas, that's fine.
True.
But
There
like,
was, I don't think those existed. We used to have one in the Twin Cities for a while when I was
there
like,
was one in my neighborhood, and it was real awkward. I was like, "Nah, dog, I'll pump my
oh, it
own
was?
gas." Yeah, and it's like I think it's illegal in some states. We're getting
Interesting.
into some uncharted territory here, but I think it's literally illegal in some states to pump your own gas. So like,
Hmm.
it might just be one. But
All right.
hit the Discord if you know. I ain't gonna research it, but all I know is that if
Send us
they
an
got
email
the
too, hello@low5gaming.com.
right,
We read those.
if there's a guy out there that's still pumping gas and they put those TVs in there, he might go insane. If you own a gas station and you're like, should I put them shitty TVs out there? Please don't. Please don't.
Make your money. Fuck it. Fuck whatever,
No,
Everybody got to make their money.
I'll go to a gas station that doesn't do that to me, and I'm dead ass serious.
I'm just playing. I don't like those
Quick Trip
things either.
doesn't do that shit to me.
Wait. So we're brought to you unofficially in part by gas stations that do not have the TV.
I do not. And loving
Nice.
mothers. And loving mothers.
And moms. I
and,
like it.
and baby mothers. Just moms,
Baby mothers.
Moms,
Yeah, moms in
and,
general, and gas stations that don't have
and
the
your baby
TVs
mamas. And your
that
baby's
make you
mama's
mad
mama.
when
All right.
you fill up your tank and you're on the way to work and it's early and you're late and it's cold outside. Not those ones.
Not those ones.
Right
Fucking
on.
holidays, bogus ass. They got them all the time. Or Speedway, whatever the fuck.
That's going to be hard to include our Unstation sponsored in my next Unstation sponsored tweet. I'll run out of
You'll
characters.
figure it out. And a continuation, just a psychotic thread of just my rants.
Dude, as long as we're at gas stations, who's your allegiance to? They change not super like you go
Quick Trip.
you go
Get
BP.
the fuck out of here.
Oh yeah,
It's
Quick Trip.
First of all,
All right,
BP has literally toppled governments and is the shittiest corporation of all time. Destroyed oceans, made us pay for it, toppled governments. Fuck BP. It's Quick Trip. It's got to be Quick Trip.
Quick Trip is fair, dude. That is a good one. I wish I had a Quick Trip next to me.
Dude,
but
we got they're building slowly. They're taking over for good reason. They do things right. They don't have TVs. They're fucking pumped. Most of the
I
time.
had to say that I probably buy my most gas from Holiday.
Gross.
Yeah, they got the TVs. But they also give you a discount if you shop at Cub Foods. Saving money.
That's true. That's true. Fuck Cub
Don't always
too.
shop at Cub Foods, though. That's the thing.
Yeah.
That's the tricky part.
I shop at both those places. This is hyper local. Fuck both of them. Anyway, moving on.
Shout out to all the moms. Thanks, moms.
Thanks, moms. Love you, moms.
Thanks, gas stations without the TVs that annoy us.
The good ones. Thanks, guys.
Yeah, welcome back, everybody, for some side quests. You know I got side quests, dude. I got side quests, especially when we got a game like Loop Hero. I'm going to be playing some other games. But I actually played a decent amount of Loop Hero. I saw some movies, dude. I saw some cool game-related movies. You go see the Super Mario movie yet?
No, but I think I could rent it soon. I'll be doing that.
Right on. It's good, dude. It's fun.
Dope. You want to say anything more about it? I haven't seen it.
I want to talk more, but I want to give you a chance to watch it
bet.
first. But then I also saw the Tetris movie, which is also dope, dude. You
What's
watched that one yet?
Is
It's
that
on
on
Apple
Peacock?
TV. Apple
No.
TV.
I'll wait until another free trial of Apple TV rolls around. I heard the season 3 of Ted Lasso sucks.
Dog, it's good.
What
I'm watching that too.
I was about to say, from ground zero of Ted Lasso Thurston.
Oh, it's great, man. I don't know.
It's great.
You talk about that Atlantic article? Or are you talking about some other?
I've seen a bunch of thought pieces that are just like it's all over the place, and people are just kind of butthurt about its direction and such. So,
as someone who's married to a woman that is obsessed with this show, I just don't think they did their research, man. I just don't think they did their research. This Ted Lasso is always meant to be 3 seasons long. They wrote the end before the start, and they're like working their way through it, or they had everything in mind. And see, the thing is it came out the door as like a funny sitcom, and all these people are like, "Oh, it's so funny and fun." And now people are upset that there's like, I don't know, it's not slapstick like The Office the whole time. Like they want like a stereotypical Office series, and that's not what this is, man. There's going to be there's story arcs.
Critiques I've read is mostly just that the story arcs feel so separate from each other that they're basically separate shows, and it feels kind of forced and weird. But I'm not going to take your opinion either, because once again, this is ground zero for like Jason Sudeikis thirsting.
Dog, that's just it, man. I've seen season 1 and 2 multiple times, and I'm not like someone that watches series over again. But my wife loves this shit, and it's a good ass series.
Anna
some comfort food series.
Sudeikis' bathwater, so I'm not going to pay attention. Yes,
my wife would, and I would be like, "That nasty." But what's up, Jason?
Hey, Jason. Moving on.
But I know all the characters. This is my point. Is like I know all the characters, so like the whole like fractured storylines, it's not fractured to me. I understand everybody.
I think the critics that are saying this have also watched it. I just think that I'll watch it and form my own opinion as one does. But we'll get back to you on that way. Anyway, the Tetris movie. Bro, I'd like to see it.
That's what I was saying. I was like, you trying to make me not talk about Red Tetris?
I'll actually watch it. I hate the game, but I'll watch the movie. It's got some Russian intrigue. It's got us. So I'll watch it.
It does. Dude, my boy Taron Egerton's in it too. He's so fun in this dude. He's great.
Oh, yeah. I just want to be in the room when they greenlit some of these movies. Like they're making a what's the PlayStation 1 like cart Twisted Metal?
Twisted Metal's coming out. They're coming out with a
Twisted Metal.
I don't know, but I'm here for it, dude. I think that shit's on Peacock.
Peacock, were like good ideas.
Dude, they're coming out with a Gran Turismo movie as well. Like, I don't know. Like, all of a sudden it's like, let's just make. Dude, but that one, like, I'll watch. Like, I don't know, man. If they come to a streaming service that I have, I'll watch.
You probably didn't watch Halo, and I heard that was cheeks. But
well, I'm not really a Halo guy, though.
Nah, it's fair. Shouts out to LAN parties.
I mean, those were tight, but like,
all right. So Mario movie, Tetris movie. What else we got?
Yes, dude. But Tetris movie, plug that shit. Like it's cool, man. It's like very spy over the top. Like It's fun.
All right, I'll allow. Continue.
Well, we did an Inscription podcast last month, man, and I've continued. I've finished Act 2, and I'm probably midway through Act 3. So I still love the game. I definitely do think that Act 1 is the best act. I'm not done with 3, but like Act 1 was just phenomenal. So three, and I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't think that you're like I know you still want to plug through, so I don't want to like spoil it for you. But we'll return to this conversation on Inscription because I've continued to play it. It's like a cool vibe game, and I do like the gameplay of it and the story and the vibes and everything. So it's still there, been in the rotation. Earlier when we were talking about the best basketball player to live, Michael Jordan. I've also been playing some NBA 2K.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, dude. I love playing 2K. Like when I play 2K, I like to get a solid season in with the T-Pups. And I get kind of burnt out on it after playing however X many amount of games that is. But then I always like to come back during the playoffs and do like if I'm like looking for something to play on the day, playing whatever the game of the day is for the NBA playoffs because they do that in this game. That's always kind of fun because like by that time you're playing as some good ass teams, right. So it's like it's fun to like pick up the sticks and play a little bit. That said, you're also playing against a good ass team. It's playoff basketball, bro.
Sure, get that atmosphere.
Lakers Warriors, who you got?
That series is over with. You know that, right?
Yeah, no.
Fuck casual. Lakers won last night. And I would have told you that, like, I'm a bitter small market sports fan. So, like, I should want, like, as a teacher, I'm just gonna say like there's two types of bandwagon fans. There's the this team has won a bunch, so the Warriors, tons of kids love Warriors,
Mm.
and it's just really annoying because I'm a loyal guy. You know, Timberwolves, let's go, down years and everything. And then there's the other type, which is just like it's very popular these days. There's kids are less committed to a team now. It's very much a continuing cultural trend to follow a player. And the NBA, no one has player movement like the NBA. So let's say that you're a Kevin Durant stan. You were a Brooklyn fan. Now you're a Phoenix fan.
Sure.
So long story short, fuck the
That
Warriors. Tired of
we're
their
Laker
success.
fans because of D'Angelo Russell. Is that what you're saying?
That's the reason I can't actually like be down with the Lakers is because D'Angelo Russell has been traded like 5 times in 8 years.
Mm-hmm.
And then he's like, the Timberwolves are holding me back, man. I'm like, hey, dog, it's been 8 years and you've been on 5 teams. I think it's you. I think it's you. And then guess who no-showed the very next game after he said all that shit? The same shit he did with the Wolves. He has the same stats, the same shootings. This isn't this type of podcast. You just got me on a rant, dog. But the homie Vando's on the team. I love Vando. He never should have been traded. It's a longer story there. And I want LeBron to win, maybe, because then it's going to get harder for the Jordan heads to say Jordan was the best ever. Dude, he's been playing for 20 years straight. I was in
You see to talk about Steph Curry? What's his name?
Elementary. I'm 30 years old. I was in elementary when that dude was drafted in the league. That's fucking wild.
Yeah, I remember it. It's he's good, like for sure. But Jordan better, but
for a shorter peak for sure.
Dude, who's the homie? Who's the broadcaster? Who's the broadcaster that was said that if Steph Curry wins, or wait, so you're saying they lost? So this would have been the other day. Yeah, I had to work last night, so I hadn't checked the news. But
he works at a bar restaurant where there's definitely that game on the TV throughout the night. But whatever.
Yeah, but I'm working, dog.
That's clouded.
Anyways, dude, fucking. Somebody was talking about how if the Warriors would have won, the discourse would have had a shift to taking LeBron off the Mount Rushmore and putting Steph Curry up there. Which I thought was because of the amount of rings, man. That would have, assuming that they won the next game or the series, rather.
Yeah, no, I love Steph, even though I hate on his team. I love a bunch of the individual players, but
dude, I hit you up. I hit you up earlier this month because I was playing Metroid Prime. That's another side quest.
Yeah, how's it been? Are the controls
tight? Controls are great, dude. I wish it's one of those things, man. We just have too many games, and I really want to tear through that game and like give a solid time to it. But I haven't yet, and it's just like I will because it's dope. I really enjoyed it, but yeah, I don't know. I like played like a solid week or two, and then I moved off it, like I did when I was like a teenager. Only I got way further this time because I understand Metroid better. I love like 2D Metroid and stuff. So the 3D one, like once you start to figure it out and everything, it is great, and it's like actually a really super awesome game. I just had other games that I was playing.
Yeah,
but I definitely wanted to throw that in there.
I'll definitely.
Dude, I'm excited to talk about. I'm excited to talk about it when you do, and I'm excited to return to it because it is. I am really liking it. But the game that I really want to mention for my biggest side quest is this Game Boy Color game that was actually made in 2001 maybe. I want to say it came out about 3 years ago, dude. And it's called The Machine. Super fun game, dude.
I thought this was like as Al watching Bert Kreischer stand-ups now.
What are you talking about?
He's the guy who I did not pronounce his last name correctly, but he's the guy that calls himself The Machine. That's his nickname, and he does his stand-up shirtless.
Oh, nice. I know who you're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. So The Machine is made by this indie developer named Ben. Let me pop my shirt off for you.
Yeah, please.
Pretty sure his name's Ben Jelter or something like that. But then it's distributed by Incubate Games, which is this cool distribution company that like does a whole bunch of like old. That's not even old. There's new Game Boy games. So it's like new games for old hardware, which I think is super dope, dude. You know me. I like love my toys. I love Game Boy. Got a special spot in my heart for Game Boy. So being able to play a new game on the Game Boy in 2023, dude, it's dope. And The Machine is super fun. It's this open adventure game. You play as this weird dude named Gert. And Gert is wonderful like, name. Dude, the best way to describe his sprite, he looks like this weird, like, sad potato, and like
Makes sense with the name Gert.
and like so it starts this like supposed to be this triangular machine that's on wheels. It's kind of like a sand crawler, and it opens up, and then Gert's in this like it's basically that's just how it starts, and it's like supposed to be this ancient machine that's just like moving on capitalism, dude. It's fucking weird, man. It's such a weird
Can you only
game.
play it on the Game Boy?
Yeah, it's a Game Boy game. I mean,
He
you could
hasn't
probably play the
ported it.
ROM. Like
Okay.
no, it's like it's for the Game Boy. So it's like not on Switch or anything like that. It's a Game Boy game. But dude, so there's 25 different endings in this game. Like it like so basically you take this test, and it's all this information that kind of gets fed to you as you play a game loop. And the game loops take about 2 hours. So it takes to start to finish is a roughly 2 hour game. But there's 25 endings, so like the replayability is huge. So like you can do all these different paths, and if you don't do well on this test at the beginning, and you're not going to, you don't get to go to the job fair. So you end up having to work for the police or for the factory. And dude, I was like, and then my first playthrough, I was like, well, I don't know if I could. Oh, and your uncle's a cop, and he tries to recruit you, and then you talk to this other guy, and it's like, you don't want to be a cop; they suck. Like work for the factory. So I would like work with the factory the first time through, and like, dude, you're poor and it fucking sucks. And like the mini game part of it's like kind of like it's silly, dude. You have to like sort these boxes or whatever. But then like you, dude, I gotta let you borrow this game, man.
This is
it's so fun.
fascinating.
And so it's all dialogue based, right? And there's these little mini games that are involved with it or whatever.
Yeah.
But then like as you talk to people, you make all these decisions. So they're like everybody's pissed off because the factory sucks to work at. So they start a union. And then they're like, you want to help us start a union? You can choose not to if you want. And I'm sure that forks off into a different storyline or whatever. So I'm like, yeah, I'm pro union. Let's go. So Gert like starts trying to sign up his coworkers for the union, and like you talk to them, and like they basically at the end of the day, like if you like talk enough people into it, like the union ends up forming or whatever. But then there's like, and each time you go out, like there's a day cycle. So you go out and you do all your shit and you talk to people, you traverse through the machine. In this particular playthrough, I was, working for the factory. You can go back home where your roommate named Toe is hanging out, and Toe's gross and your apartment's like nasty. I'm giving you all these details, but then you go to sleep, you wake up, you watch the news. It gives you the political climate because there's all this like shit going on with an election. Dude, this game is like it's really cool, and it's like all these weird layers to it. But then you go out, and they asked me to be the union president, which I accepted that deal. But then there was an assassination and at the same time I was stumping for the political candidate that I preferred, but there was an assassination against them. And then the people were really impressed by our union work, so they wanted the union to put someone forward, and I suggested myself, and they're like, that seems pretty greedy, Gert. Like, well, that's kind of weird.
Is the
like
most intricate. I'm not even mad, but I expected you to be done like 3 minutes ago, and I'm like, damn, this is really sticking with him. This is raw to you. This is,
dude. I know this is what I've been playing a lot the last couple of weeks here.
You must have.
But I just wanted to give you I just wanted to give you some flavor of like this ridiculous game, and I'm just gonna put one more little piece of seasoning on there, dude. In between at the end of each day, as my playthrough as a factory worker, I would take the $2 that I earned at the factory that day, and I'd go to the racetrack and I'd bet on the horses, and I never won once. It was the saddest life ever. And that story like continues, and it like gets more and more ridiculous, dude. But and then you can play again. It starts over after that. It says the machine keeps on turning, and you can start over and you do something completely different, man.
That's something else, man.
Major side quest.
That's with a man known for particularly niche tastes. This is the most nichest niche I've ever.
So fly, you got to check it out.
Accomplishment in gaming. I can't believe something so like. I can't even believe that exists. That's
dude, I'm
awesome,
telling you, bro.
That's why I'm like, it's not on Steam.
No, it's for the Game Boy. You can check it out. Maybe it is. I don't think it is though. I think it's just straight for Game Boy. You can, but the thing is you can pay. Like you can buy I have the physical cart and I play it on my pocket or whatever. But you can also buy the ROM for pretty cheap, $5 or something like that. You
can buy a ROM, okay.
Yep. So you can buy the ROM and you can play it on any Game Boy emulator that you might get for free off the internet, because emulation, that's how it works or whatever. But you can obtain the ROM legally, $3, whatever it is. Play it on your computer, play it on your phone. But yeah, Game Boy.
And it'd play it while you're trying to get by at the gas pump, and it's just blaring over you. Just try to play there.
Dude, and just a testament to like how ridiculous this story was. Like I was obviously giving you some some strong flavor of it or whatever.
No,
But I was
all
playing.
good. I was
I
like,
played a
what the
lot of this
fuck?
game, and Anna would look over my shoulder and be like, "What's going on with this?" And then she would like read the dialogue, like as I was traversing the machine or whatever. And she got super into it. She was like, "This game is like really cool." I was like, "I know, right?" Like,
Yeah. It's kind of funny. I can't beat that, but I'll still talk about my games. I've been playing not interesting. Everybody knows it. Just an absurd amount of Skyrim. I shouldn't say absurd, but just like deeper than I thought it was gonna go. God damn, it's just comfort food.
you got to
Dude.
be because that was your major side quest last month, dude. So you probably got another.
Dude, I was throwing it in the rotation, and it's just like,
Yeah.
especially on weekends when I'd have big chunks and like the baby was sleeping or being cool, babies, I would just, I'd just be bashing things around. And it's funny how like you play the game for long enough and like you pick a specific path to go on, like I'm going to specialize in this. But then once you get to a high enough level, I'm not sure if like you got into these levels, but like once you get into like the 40s, 50s, and 60s, I think I'm like on the edge of being like a level 50 overall. You can start to
Okay.
get like pretty damn good at almost everything. So like it kind of loses some of that specialization feel. And also you get to the point where you got the full 6 set of armor, sick
You're not sneaking
weapons,
around with your Warhammer anymore.
lots of sneaking. Don't worry, doing all the stuff and like double-handed sneak artist. And then you get to the point where you lose. You get to that point where you lose the scariness. Each encounter you can bullshit your way out of. You don't have to cheese anything. You don't have to save scum the same amount. Like sometimes you die and it feels good to like actually get bested. You're like, oh shit, I can't just run into every situation just bashing heads and being a big dumb thumb out there. But it's way less and less each time. Like I just fucked up the dragon the other day where I just like knocked it out of the sky. I don't even have the shout that knocks it out of the sky, but I just like got
Oh
onto the
wow.
ground, did my fucking orc berserk and just bashed its head in a few times and it was dead. And I was like, this is getting a little too easy. But yeah, that's Skyrim, man. I mean, everyone's played it.
Screaming.
You should scrim once again, dude, because
I will have to pick it back up, man. Like I definitely
I
was
was
loving it, and I know that there's so much more to explore.
it's so great on Game Pass, dude. Just because on a controller, I don't know, on your couch. But I didn't do like I did some missions on accident, but I really just like went and just hit up caves and
Right on.
different things, and I would just run into whatever trouble I could. And it's like kind of a weird way to play to have no structure, but just like be gooning around and buying property and building things. So it's been really cool. MLB The Show, still awesome. I'm in my second year. We lost.
Yeah, I fell off of it.
I was the rookie of the year. It's hard, man. I had to turn down the difficulty to the base one, not like the absolute low one, but what the game defaults at. I think it's veteran.
Mm-hmm.
I played at the higher one. I pitch at the higher one when I'm a pitcher, but it's just too. It's too much, man. I strike out all the time. It's like it's not fun. I don't actually strike out all the time, but like you have to move the thing around, and like I only have the reflex to go like, oh, the pitch is up, but like what they want you to do is like slightly move the joystick like a little bit. And I'm like, I can't make a decision on a 99 mile per hour fastball to just be like, oh, that's a little bit.
That's why you'll never make it to the big show, bud.
Goddamn right. So I turned it down, and it's been more fun. I was rookie of the year, which is tight. Always fun. I would love to just get a call and just let them help, just be an advisor to make an ultimate baseball RPG with like silly storyline stuff and like ways you can actually spend your money. It's a story for another day, man. The show, I love that it's on Game Pass.
That is dope.
Because I would have had to been like waiting for a sale or like, do I actually want it this year? But the fact that it just drops day one the last few years has been really sick. So I've been loving it. There's obviously some flaws and some things I don't love, but like it's just been awesome to have in the rotation. And then we both got Tears of the Kingdom.
Yes, sir.
Do you plan on keeping our conversation at the top? Do you plan on keeping that up at the top, or are you gonna like put it down here? So you can put it down here. But early impressions, probably a few hours.
I'm not gonna like puzzle it in, but I might put it at the end. Who knows?
Yeah, that would be literally what I just said. You dickbag.
I mean, post our outro music, man. When I put a little Easter egg.
Sure. I mean, there's so many gems from the beginning you could put at the Easter egg. But yeah, Tears of the Kingdom has been really cool. I've been afraid that I played so much of Breath of the Wild that it would be too familiar, but I'm in their tutorial area. and it's new
Same.
enough, and it's never going to capture the same magic of discovering that game the first time.
Dude, the building's pretty cool.
No, the building's sick, but like Dog Breath of the Wild was wild. It was like
Right.
the music, the sound effects. It's like it's fun to hear all those familiar things and be in that world
It is
again.
fun.
You feel welcomed back in, and it all comes right back to you to some degree. So we'll see.
Even cooking and stuff, I noticed he does like the little whistle and stuff like that, and just a little.
Yeah.
I feel you, man. Like it is. You're right. Like I
Some
think
quality
that
of life stuff too. It's cool.
I think, but I think that it's a sequel, so keep that in mind. Obviously,
Yeah.
and it is so far, and I'm only maybe an hour in myself, maybe a little more. Definitely still in that same area, but it's like it seems like a really nice continuation of Breath of the Wild.
Yeah, I mean, I think that like some reviews I was reading were like it's better, and I'm like, I don't think you can be better than something that broke so much ground, but like you can be a refined, awesome version of it, right? So like
Yeah.
technically, yes, it's better, but like out of context. But once you put all the context in it, needless to say, though, I mean, it's gonna get like 75 to 125 hours.
Totally.
Yeah, and like Nintendo, way to release a finished game. Oh,
Oh man, I know.
Like-
I did notice there was a day one download though. Like, they patched it with something.
I know, but like it's ready to go. You know what I mean?
Totally.
It's like
And it wasn't a long download. It was a short one. I like blinked and it was done.
So Nintendo does a bunch of crummy things to like people, the internet. But like, you know
This
what
is
they
true.
do? Do you know what they do that's really dope? Release finished games.
Finished
Other than Mario
games.
Golf. You want to talk about Mario Golf? No, I'm playing.
Dude, did you do Redfall? Did you try Redfall at all?
No, but I think that
I loaded it up.
I'll
I didn't
keep
download
an
it.
ear to the
Streamed
ground on it as far as if it gets actively fixed like some other games. But I was never the target audience. Like I'm not a
Me
loot
neither.
shooter. Like
No.
I don't know why they made that game. They wanted to maybe, or maybe they were shoehorned into doing some different things, but that was never my genre. But I do occasionally like to pick up a shooter on Game Pass.
Mm-hmm.
So if they like really actually work on it and put meaningful improvements to the game over the next year, like I won't pick it up now, but I'm not going to sell the Series X. So if it's dope in like a year, I wonder if it's like got so much salt on the wound that like it'll be dead.
To fix it.
They do, but they might not. I don't know. We'll see people's appetite for it, but I think that it's a shame. But also, as games these days, man, they gotta. Like so the Xbox stuff is super stupid because they're like, oh, Xbox is losing to PlayStation. PlayStation has like 3 good exclusive games, and like I'm not dying to play any of them. God of War, people loved it, but like also wasn't the same as the first one as far as like a cultural impact, from what I can tell.
Sure. You guys or you don't have a PlayStation, new PlayStation anymore. They are giving away they're doing like a little teaser Spider-Man for free, which is kind of tight. I do that. I do wish I could play my Spider-Man on PlayStation.
Yeah, when Spider-Man 2 comes out, that'll be like the first game I'm jealous of, right?
Right.
But as far
if
as
they come
like,
out with another
was an
Ghost, like I never
Xbox
played
worth
Ghost
it?
Tsushima, but
Okay, I'm not like a big fanboy, but I'm just like, dude, the Xbox has been a good device for me. The Game Pass machine, it works sick, but the exclusives. So,
dude, now that I know how to do the cloud gaming on the Steam Deck with that too, and you can do it, dude. You can do that on your phone, or I was doing it on my tablet as well. Like, dude, Game Pass
I did
is
it
dope.
for Vampire Survivors once upon a time, but
but
Starfield.
Tears of the Kingdom though. Oh, Starfield.
Starfield. Yeah. When that comes out, I really hope it slaps and it's ready to go, or else like, oh my god, the discourse is going to be gross.
Oh man, but I just don't understand that, man. There's so many games. Like, why people get so upset about delays? It's like, play one of the like, there's thousands of top tier games to play.
They want exclusives, and like I think they just forget.
I know that, but I just mean in general, like fanboys need to settle down and be like, who cares if it comes out?
Fanboys should settle down, but
that's true.
But all right,
Tears though, man.
Tears is sick. You'll don't play.
We're gonna be talking more about that for sure.
Yeah.
But that's side questing, dude. Side quest, more Tears. Let's go. Thanks for tuning in, everybody. Another episode number 23. Michael Jordan of the podcast, Low 5 Gaming.
2 Tom Gugliotas out here. That's what we are of podcasts.
Yes, sir. Man, I remember Googs. Googs are good shit. All right. Until next time, everybody, check us out at low5gaming.com. Hit us up with an email, hello@low5gaming.com. gmail.com. We'll hit you back. We'll read it. We'll hit you back. Join the Discord if you will. It's always fun to have you jump in there for the Game of the Month discussion. Just chat about video games, life, etc. Post pictures of your puppies, whatever. If you want our ear, that's where it is. It's in the Discord. Till next time, y'all. Peace.
Peace.
Yeah, dog. I also am being pulled away from Tears of the Kingdom. I was getting kind of angry though. I kept dying against a couple things that shouldn't be that hard, I don't think. And I was like, fuck. Maybe it's time for a break.
I haven't died in a normal way yet. I've like just fallen off of things derpy as shit.
Yeah.
I spent like, kid you not, 20 minutes building a giant ladder. And then I ran into something when I was doing the tractor and it dropped and fell into the chasm. And I'm like, I just murdered a town, but also I'm really mad.
Yeah. Dude, I'm kind of impressed with the Sky Islands or whatever. It's like kind of cool.
Yeah. It's really confusing to look at things on the map, but the Sky Islands
I do think
are
the map's
cool.
a little weird. I haven't made it down to the mainland yet. I don't know how far you are.
No, I have to find like the last shrine because you find the shrines and they're like one more shrine.
Yeah.
And I beat this giant Roblox, or not Roblox, but this giant Minecraft monster.
Yeah, I think we're in about the same spot.
I didn't have anything cool to attach its part or fuse its part to, so that was a pretty big waste of resources for me. I was pretty butthurt.
What'd you fuse it to? Anything? Nothing?
I didn't have anything, and then I tried to fuse it to my glider that I got there on, and then I jumped to the pond below, but I missed it by like a foot. You didn't get a glider after that last shrine?
I think we're probably doing the shrines in a different order.
I don't think
I haven't gotten to the last. Oh, I haven't gotten to the last shrine, but I fought him before that, I guess.
You must have. Yeah,
because there's 3 of them.
There's 3, and then there's a 4th you got to get to. But
I'm still working on my 3rd, I think.
It's more linear than the Great Plateau in the first one.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, we're here for Deathloop, otherwise to everybody else known as this Loop Hero. What's up?